was born with cerebral palsy. Weeks after he was born, the doctors told his parents not to expect much and that he would not be able to talk. At the age of 3.5, Mike was talking up a storm. While Mike has his day-to-day struggles, his razor-sharp wit is a force to be reckoned with. Mike is a founding member of HandicapThis, the inspirational leader of the Keeping On Foundation, an aspiring filmmaker, and is currently in the midst of finishing his first novel.
So, what do you consider to be your uniqueness of having cerebral palsy? So, in other words, what do you think is unique about having cerebral palsy?
Well, for me, what's unique, I think, is the way I look at it and the way I've evolved my thinking of cerebral palsy. Because if you think about it, at least in my situation, they meaning like my teachers and my parents and my therapists and so on and so forth have always treated me like I could do anything in the world, and the truth is, for me, I know that I can't. Like, I know where my limitations are, and in my experience, I haven't met a lot of people who are able to kind of know their limitation, like, and just the way I use humor also is not something I see in the way I deal with it, because I have a very strong sense of self, and like I said, I used to think like I could have any job in the. I used to think I could do any job in the world, and then once I got to the stage where after high school, I was like, hold on a minute, they didn't lie to me, but the narrative would change, because I can only do so much, and I came to terms with that, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do what I can do, and it's okay if I don't go on the. It's okay if I don't go on the usual track that other people that I know or I've interacted with have cerebral palsy, how they deal with it. That's how I would say.
Okay.
That's what,
And so I guess, can you describe your cerebral palsy? Like, what can you not do?
well, I have mixed quadriplegia, which means, this is the scientific definition of it. It's my arms and my legs are all affected. My torso is affected. My speech pattern is affected, and I'm also tight but spastic at the same time. So I got the whole smorgasbord of inconveniences. So I got pretty much the only thing I can do without some sort of rearranged help, because everything I have to do turns into a longer process. The only thing I can do by myself is talk and kind of use my my left pointer finger. because that's the only one that I can manipulate at all. And I was in therapy for the first, meaning in physical therapy, for the first 20 plus years of my life, and they never trained me how to use what I couldn't do, because my hands are contracted, and they kept trying to uncontract them. And I kept saying to them, or I didn't say this to them at the time, but I wanted to come back and say it to them. I wanted to say, it's a brain injury. It's not a hand injury. No matter what you do, my hand is gonna be like this. So I'm like, here, let me train myself, because I don't care how I look. How I look has no bearing on what I do. Has no bearing on what I do whatsoever. So if I look like I haven't been to therapy, and I realize this is going to be an audio format, so no one's going to get to see how tight I really am. Let's just say it's very noticeable that I have cerebral palsy.
Right.
So basically, I can't do anything without somebody's help.
Yeah, that must be difficult.
Well, it is difficult if that's what you don't know.
Right.
But if that's all you know,
No, I know. I understand.
if that's all you know, it's kind of like, it can get a little bit frustrating, because my brain can work a lot faster than people can work. So I'm like, I could be doing this in 12 seconds, and they're taking 10 minutes, but I have to be patient with them, because they're the ones I rely on. So I can't say what I'm thinking all the time, because I gotta be aware of other people's time and other people trying to help me. So,
Right.
but it does get, the older I get, the more frustrated I get, because I think it's just a natural thing for me. Like, I know what I want to do, and I know that I can't do it. And most days I'm okay with that, but there are some days where I'm not okay with that. Right. And those are the fun days for everyone around. Those are the fun days for everyone around me.
Right. So, you mentioned that, there's that you can't do things that you would like to do. And some days you're okay with that, and some days you're not. So what types of things do you wish you could do?
Well, I wish I could. There's a long.
Just give me like, 2 examples.
Yeah, yes, we don't have enough time to do all the things I would want to do. But one thing I would like to do is be able to. I would like to be able to drive. I would like to be able to drive. Mm-hmm. Because I've noticed that the able-bodied people, when they get mad, mm-hmm. Or when they get frustrated, they often go out and drive and get to blow out steam. And I think to myself, there's gotta be something there, because they're all doing it. Everyone I know who's able-bodied and who is able to drive, if they get annoyed, they go for a drive. So there must be something in there. So I would like to try that, but when sidebar, quick 20-second sidebar. When I was in high school, they wanted me to take driver's ed, and I was like, "What are you're joking, aren't you?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, I hope you have really good insurance, because because you're gonna need it, because people are gonna die, because I don't know if you can." I said this to them. I don't know if you can tell this, but why would you want to put a quadriplegic behind the steering wheel? So the idea of driving doesn't sound good to me, because I've never done it, but I think the cathartic nature that I watch it in sound like it would be fun. Sound like it would be something to blow off steam. And if we could go anywhere and do anything, if things were open, then it would make more sense, because I could drive to places.
Right.
But since the apocalypse is outside, nobody's going anywhere. So, but even still, they go for drives, even in the apocalypse. So there must be something in the able-bodied brain that says driving is good, driving is freeing, and I would like to experience that. The other thing I would like to do is be able to. I would like to be able to use I would like to be able to use a phone in the manner that they, and whenever I say they, I just mean able-bodied people. Because I tried to use a phone with voice activation and stuff like that, and I'm one of these people where it's like, okay, this is taking too long. It can't understand that here. Just call the person for me, or text this. That's something I would like to be able to do. I'd like to be able to text, because that's how people communicate.
Right.
It's hard to communicate a thought. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get thoughts out when you have to go through a middleman, and it's hard to create a real social dynamic, because nobody calls each other anymore. So that's
so do you have a cell phone where, that you basically do speech to text, and and obviously, your dad or your aide or so forth, your brother, your mom, they answer the call if they can, if they're around, whoever's around with you, answers your phone call.
Well, now, I know who's calling me now, and I know who to text. So when I had my own phone, that was just my phone, that's when I would use voice to text. Mm-hmm. It could not understand me, so I'm like, okay, we're spending a lot of money on this. I'm why we can't have nice things. So let's get rid of my phone. I'm gonna share a phone with my dad. There's only a few people that I really talk to using a phone on a regular basis. So I'm like, here, just put these numbers in your phone, and when I want to text someone something, text it to them. But sometimes it can be frustrating because when you're not writing a text and you're waiting for a text, it can be frustrating. But like yeah. So I had to change.
I understand.
Yeah, I really had to change the way I did it because having my own phone was driving me nuts because I couldn't use it well. So I'm like,
No, that's okay. That makes sense. And
yeah,
your dad, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm like, let's be real. Let's be realistic and just we tried it. It didn't work, and I noticed this whenever I really have to push this. It's like when I say no, I mean no, because like a lot of people think like I'm giving up. A lot of people think like, oh, you should try it again. I'm like, no, I think I got it. I think we tried it long enough. I tried it more than once. Let's move on. Let's chalk it up to the cerebral palsy. Just add it to the list of things that I really can do, and let's move on to trying something else.
Right. So when you were 12 years old, your parents or you hired Tim, who also is your partner, I should say, or was your partner. I mean, you're very close, with this company, and what you guys decided to start, called HandicapThis, which is stand-up comedy, and making videos and so forth. But when Tim was your aide, what types of activities or things did he assist you with? And, can you describe your relationship with Tim from when he was an aide to now being, a business partner and a good friend?
Well, okay, so I'll answer it in chronological order. So when I was 12, this was the first aide I got to pick. So I'm like, because before then you were provided the aides were provided by the school, and there came a point where I'm like, I gotta start picking these people because I had to be with these people all day. So I had to start picking them because they would literally give me people that didn't speak English. And I'm not kidding. Like, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. So when I said, okay, we need to find someone, and when I met Tim, what he would quote unquote do for me was, again, everything I could not do. Which would, in the school context, which would be like writing and feeding me lunch and helping me take tests and taking notes. I don't know why he took notes because I never opened a notebook because I'm an auditory learner and I have a photographic memory. So I'm like, why are you writing? There came a point I'm like, why are you writing this? What are you? There came a point where I was like, what are you? And this is when we were friends. This is when we became friends. I'm like, what are you doing here? I'm like, you don't have to be here for a lot of this. Go off and find. You can. I basically gave him like, go do other stuff, and I'll just come back when it's lunchtime. Like when, and I mean that like in a good way. When I figure out, I'm like, I don't take note. I've never looked at my notebook. I never looked at my notebook. But the more important thing was that he became friends with me, and he was willing to talk to me as not just in the context of being an aide. And the people at the school, they didn't really like that for reasons I never understood. And still can't quite fathom. But so he became a very close confidant, and he became a really good advocate for stuff that I needed help with. Like, because, and I'll try to make this quick so we can jump to the more of like the handicap this stuff. But for example, like, he would understand me and what my point was a lot better. So, like, I don't know if you can't tell this again, this is the audio, which I keep forgetting. It's that I use a manual chair. And when I was in high school, actually when I was in law school, the powers that be were like, no, you gotta use a power chair. I'm like, why? And they're like, because it'll give you independence. And I said, no, it won't, because if you think about it, I still have Tim to press. I still need Tim to open the door. I still need Tim to press the button on the elevator. I still need Tim to take the books out of my bag, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, that not being, and they're like, yeah, but you're being independent. I'm like, isn't it more important that I learn in school? And can we redefine independence that's not just pushing a joystick? Like, that's not independence. That's just that's the veneer of independence in my situation.
Right.
In my situation, that's a veneer of independence because I need so much help. And I kept saying it, and they kept saying, no, you gotta do it. And then Tim would say, no, he's right because of this and this and this. And so we would just kind of, we became a good team because he could communicate to them stuff that I couldn't communicate to them, and I could communicate to him a lot of stuff that I couldn't communicate to other people, and therefore we became a really good rapport. And then we started, after I graduated high school, he came along. He came with me because I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna hire you, because prior to that he was hired by the school, and I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna hire you, and now we're gonna work together. You're my assistant now instead of my aide. And I went to college where he was my aide/assistant, and through that we figured out that we started a nonprofit organization.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask about that.
Right. So the order, and you can edit this, like, you can edit this however you want. The order of things was prior to handicap prior to HandicapThis, we started the Keep On Keeping On Foundation, which is I'm not on that side of the business so much, or that side of our stuff so much, but basically what it was is we would raise funds for people that needed help with like getting a wheelchair or getting a walker or getting whatever they needed. And we concentrated on people with cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy because that's what we both knew about. So we're like, let's think. There's a lot of physical disabilities or handicap, and like all the handicaps, but let's stick to the one that I actually know what I'm talking about. So when I talk about it, I'm talking about it intelligently. So in that, we would talk to people about our organization, and then we're like, and then one day Tim said to me, you know, we should do a show.
Right. HandicapThis, you started with Tim. It is a two-man play. And so you and Tim premiered in 2010. And the play explored the serious issues in a comical way. Can you tell us more about HandicapThis and how it has spread awareness to a variety of audiences nationwide?
Yes, so after we created the Keep On Keeping On Foundation, like I said, we would have to talk, we would talk to classes, like we would start with individual classes and like parent groups and stuff like that. And it wasn't really a show at that point. And he's like, one day, he said, right after we did one of our talks, he said to me, you know, we should do a show. And I said, what are you talking about? Oh, I'm like, we should do it. And I'm like, yeah, but we can't act. And he said, we're not acting. We're just telling our own story. And I'm like, I get that, but we still need to learn how to be up on a stage, because being up on a stage, well, back then, I thought being up on a stage was a lot different than just talking to people. So we actually took acting classes. We actually took like acting classes, which I think helped him more, because I realized like, oh yeah, he's right. We don't need to act. Why are we doing scenes? Like, why is this helping us? So then we did that, and then we wrote the script, and the first script we stuck very close to the script, and as time went on, and the stories, it would go in chronological order, and the stories would go about like overcoming overcoming obstacles, and it was and we would use stories about places that we've gone, things that I did in school, what challenges I had, and what challenges I overcame. But we would always do it in a comical way because I was like, we gotta make people laugh because nobody is gonna want to sit through a motivational speech play. Like, I'm like, this is never gonna work if it's not gonna be funny. This is never gonna work because if I don't want to watch it, no one. If I don't want to watch what I'm doing, no one else is gonna want to watch what we're doing. So I said, so we took the script and we would edit it and we would change it. And as I got older, we started to travel with it, and we would do it for public shows, and we would do it for schools, and we would do it for organizations. So basically what we would do is tell the same story pretty much every time. We would just add to it. And it was basically any obstacle that comes in your way, because I've had a lot of obstacles and learned about a lot of obstacles. You can get over, and it translated to a lot of different audiences. We were just using the prism of, hey, I had cerebral palsy. Let's just use that prism, and then whatever the group is, they can take what they want. They can take what they want. Like that was my only thing, is like, we're gonna make this as entertaining as possible, and they can take what they want. And not the problem, but the thing we kept hitting up against was the audiences that we would go in front of, and the audiences were great, but the majority of the audiences were already people with disabilities.
Right.
So we were kind of preaching to the choir. We were preaching to the choir. I'm like, they know this. Like they don't need to be told that they can overcome things. I'm pretty sure that I'm not exactly sure, but I'm relatively sure that they've overcome things. So we did that for a while, and then the traveling became hard for me because it's hard for me to travel, because the older I get, the tighter I get, and it just
you also need help. I mean, like 24/7 help, right? With dressing and with showering. And the only reason I know this, aside from speaking with Tim, is that on HandicapThis, the website, there are some videos of just, footage of you traveling with Tim and just, needing like assistance, transporting and so forth.
Yeah. And my thing was always, let's tell people. As I got older, my thing was always, let's tell people what I really think about certain things, and let's talk to them about the stuff that isn't so. I don't want to say the stuff that isn't politically correct, but the stuff that, like, I wanted to get into more, like, adult material and use adult themes and language just to make my point, because I had at the time, and I still do, I have a different viewpoint. Like I have a very specific viewpoint, which can rub people the wrong way if we don't prepare them for it. And I understood that we couldn't always do that. Like I wouldn't do that for like kids, but after a while I'm like, between the traveling and between I can't go out there every day. I can't go out there every day and say stuff and have people come up to me and say how inspired they were if I don't feel inspired when I
Right.
if I feel what I'm
You need to
saying.
be in the right mindset.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it's fun, and there were times where they were like, do whatever you want, and when they said do whatever you want, I would be like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, great. So I like performing, and I like the idea of performing, but it was all the stuff around it that was not easy for me. Like the traveling and like the practicing was not my thing, because I was like, okay, I've done this for, let's say I've done this for 10 years. I know word for word exactly what I had to say. So it became kind of, I had a lot of confidence in what I had to say.
Right.
And it's not anybody's fault, but people were less, they always wanted to make sure that for every single show, every single thing went right. And I would get frustrated. I'm like, I don't need to do this. I don't need to go over not everything has to be perfect.
Right.
Because no, and I think part of it was I'm talking to people all the time. Like I literally talk through my life. So
Right.
I'm very comfortable with just saying things, where as a show they were like, we wanna hit the mark, and I'm like, we wrote this. We're not doing, the refrain I always had was, and would always go, you're right, was, this isn't Hamlet. They don't know what they're seeing. They don't know the script. They don't know the scenes. So if I improvise, that's what I like to do, and
That's great.
That's not what stopped it. The traveling is what ultimately stopped it, and it couldn't sustain itself, and I wasn't having enough self-care. I was not self-caring like I should have. I was not cognizant of my aside from my physical disabilities, my mental illnesses as well. And I was not cognizant of that until it became really bad, and I had to work back up to where I could just deal with everyday life. So I'm like, and we really got it. We got to pull back. We got to stop like, and I wish I could still do it. It's really hard.
I mean, it's hard on everybody. I mean, I'm 31. I think I'm a little bit younger than you, but I mean, I don't travel the same way that I used to, and I'm an independent person, traveling regardless of whether, you have the right amount of help because of a disability like yours or whatnot. I mean, yeah, that's part of it, but not everyone likes to travel. So don't, and they get tired as, they get older. Traveling is stressful, and it's definitely stressful for you, especially, and that makes sense.
And I think that there's a not a misconception, because it's a conception that like my body, I'm aging quicker than I feel older than I am. Like I'm 31 also.
Oh, you are? Okay, I wasn't sure.
About to be 32. I'm turning the corner on 31. I'm about to be 32. So, but like I have the body and the energy of I have the body, I was told by a person, and this is what you always want to hear, that you have the joints of an 85-year-old. And I'm like, I know. And I have the energy about a 60-year-old. So I don't have energy. I don't have the energy that I can muster. I only have as much energy as I have. So like I gotta take care of that. I gotta take care of that first, because if you don't,
that's the most important.
Yeah, and I really lost sight of that, because I just thought, okay, this is what I have to do, and I need a job, and I feel so much better since I pulled back on it. Like, I'm sad that I pulled back on it, but I feel a lot better since I pulled back on it. Like, I feel like the best version of
really good.
The best version I can feel, which still isn't great, but it's better than the version that I used to be. So I'm like, I'm comfortable. I'm still riddled with anxiety. I'm riddled with anxieties, but I'm comfortable with my riddled anxiety. Like, right. I'm aware of them. They give me nice pharmaceuticals. And I take my nice pharmaceuticals, and I got my marijuana card. I got my marijuana card, and I can just, when I need to do that, I can do that. And so I got control over some of the stuff. So I'm
right. You're moving on, and it's okay. I mean, we all move on from different things, and you're still an impressive man despite your challenges. What now? I know we're in COVID, but is there anything that you want to now do post-COVID with your life?
Yeah, post-COVID, I want to do, like, I was supposed to do in May. I was supposed to I had stand up straight stand up without a HandicapThis. I had straight stand up booked for May, and we had everything done, and COVID hit, and I'm like, oh, we're not doing that. So then I was like, okay, I'll still work on it. And then they were like, and then they called me like a month ago and said, you can do it in 2021, but you can do it outside. and then I just got a call from them like a couple of days ago and said, "Oh, we're not doing the outside thing anymore." So I'm still, but I'm always working. I still work on it. Like, that's what I work on every day.
That's amazing.
Every day, that's what I work on, and it just chiseling away at what's the best joke, what's the best story, because none of the stories I tell, and this is true for HandicapThis, and this is also true for my stand-up, which I cannot say the title of because it's not a appropriate title. I don't know how they let us print it, but anyway, they let us put it up. So the thing I've always tried to do is make the story true.
Mhm.
So all of the stories, no matter which way I tell them, they're always 100% true. The observations that I make come after. They don't come like, I don't know when I'm in a situation I go, "Oh, this is good for it. Oh, this is good for it.
Mhm. I understand.
This is a joke. This is a joke." But looking back, I'm like, that's fun. I'm like, that's funny. That may not be funny to other people, but that's funny to me. But that's funny to me.
Right.
So, and I've tried it, and we were gonna do like a Zoom show, and I'm like, no, I need to see people. Yeah, like the inner, like, because I tell them when I did my show, I'm like, they're like, do you want lights? I'm like, no lights. And they're like, no lights. And I'm like, no, because I want to see everybody that's in the audience. Because if I can pick one, if I can see their reactions to what I'm saying, and if they get it, and if something pops into my head, I want to be able to focus on that one person and go, "You there, you seem uncomfortable with what I'm saying. Let me make you feel comfortable with your uncomfortableness,"
Mhm.
which is basically what I try to do.
Yeah. And that's amazing.
Which I tell increasingly uncomfortable stories in a very comfortable way.
And you do, you're doing like a great job. And I think everything that you are doing is, it's wonderful. I think lastly, I would love to just ask you, what advice would you give to others who have disabilities, or, what type of message do you have to people nationwide, whether they have a disability or they don't?
I would say that the message I want to send is, look, everybody's got something. Everybody's got some form of. Everybody's got a handicap, and the reason I'll tie this into what I want people to know. I like using the word handicap because everybody's got a handicap. Because if you think about it, if you use the word disabled, you sound, if something is disabled, it doesn't work. If you have a handicap, it's like golf. Because basically a handicap in golf means that one part of your game is not good, and that does not define your entire skill set. So basically, not everybody's got some kind of everybody's got some kind of weakness, or better said, everybody's got something that they either want to work on, want to get stronger at, never done before. And I think that's very common for a lot of people. And I just try to break it down like, we're not, you and me are not that, you and me are not that different. Yeah, we have a different lifestyle, I guess, but we're not that different because we all have challenges, and we all have a lot more in common than we have in uncommon, which I'm not even sure if that's the right way to say that sentence. So basically, we have a lot more alike with each other than we do that we're not like each other. Even though I might look like I'm messed up, and I am messed up, believe me, I know what I look like, and I wish I could describe what I look like for the listeners, but I think they got. But I think so. I just want to take people's misconceptions away, because a lot of people have misconceptions about themselves, and just look at the world through a funny way, and don't be afraid to start a conversation. And I know you asked for one. I gave you like 10 things that I tell people, but I guess.
No, I think they're all great. I mean, and I think all your pieces of advice are wonderful. And I know that our audience is going to love this interview.